Hello everyone, today is June 4th, 2025. These are the latest financial news at Finance Today MX, with our top story today: baseball in Mexico, an increasingly popular and already profitable business. Today's stories: baseball in Mexico, an increasingly popular and already profitable business. In Mexico City, baseball fans today flocked to the Alfredo Harp Hellas Stadium, inaugurated in 2019 and home to the Diablos Rojos, Red Devils. However, it wasn't always this way. Some have followed the sport since the games for that team and the Tigres were held at the Social Security Park in the Narvarte neighborhood, where the Parque Delta by the Viaducto Miguel Alemán in Mexico City, which turned into a shopping mall. OECD predicts Mexico will avoid recession in 2025, despite the global economic slowdown. Mexico's economy will feel the impact of the tariffs ordered by U.S. President Donald Trump and will have a modest growth rate this year, although everything indicates it will avoid the worst-case scenario of a recession, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. Aguilar Ortiz poised to be the Supreme Court president, says INE. Hugo Aguilar Ortiz, a lawyer from Oaxaca of Mixtec origin, is one step away from becoming the next president of the Supreme Court of Justice of the nation, a position he would achieve with just over 5 million votes obtained in the first election of judges and justices of the judicial branch. Business. Herdez says it meets sustainable performance goals and avoids raising its bond rates. Grupo Herdez, one of Mexico's largest food companies, said it is meeting the sustainability performance targets attached to its long-term bonds, which will allow it to maintain its interest rate levels. Fibra Educa prepares follow-up offering in Mexico and the U.S. Fibra Educa, a real estate investment trust focused on schools, has filed a request to conduct a primary follow-up issuance in the Mexican and U.S. markets. HICSA wins $2.7 billion MXN contract for roadworks in San Luis Potosí. Grupo HICSA, a Mexican infrastructure developer, announced that through one of its subsidiaries it has secured a contract to carry out the construction of a series of roadworks in the state of San Luis Potosí. Volaris signs partnership with Chinese carrier Hainan Airlines for flights in Mexico. Volaris, the country's largest ultra-low-cost carrier, signed a partnership with Chinese carrier Hainan Airlines, with the goal of expanding connectivity between Mexico and the Asian country. Fresnillo posts its best day on the stock market in nearly 5 years with a 22% rise. Fresnillo, one of the largest silver producers in the world, closed up 22.8% to 304 pesos in the June 3rd session on the Mexican Stock Exchange, BMV.
NVIDIA displaces Microsoft as the world's most valuable company. NVIDIA, the artificial intelligence (AI) chip company, ended trading Tuesday as the world's most valuable company after reaching a market capitalization of $3.444 trillion, eclipsing the $3.441 trillion of American technology firm Microsoft on the Nasdaq exchange. Ford's U.S. sales increased 16% in May thanks to the rise of SUVs and trucks. Ford Motor reported a double-digit percentage increase in U.S. vehicle sales in May on Tuesday, as strength in the sport utility vehicle segment helped offset a decline in electric vehicles. Economy. President Trump signs order raising U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%. U.S. President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order increasing tariffs on steel and aluminum entering the United States from 25% to 50%, effective June 4. Mexican international reserves continue to rise, reaching a record high of $239.98 billion. The Bank of Mexico's international reserves increased by $97 million during the week ending May 30, reaching a record level of $239.98 billion. Trump likely to speak with China Xi this week, White House says. U.S. President Donald Trump will likely speak with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping this week, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, according to a Reuters news agency report. Fed's Cook says tariffs are beginning to affect the U.S. economy. Changes in U.S. trade policy are beginning to affect the U.S. economy, likely resulting in higher inflation and a cooling labor market, said Lisa Cook, a member of the Federal Reserve's governing board. Eurozone says inflation rose 1.9% annually in May, setting the stage for ECB cuts. Eurozone inflation remained stable and flat monthly in May, according to preliminary figures from Eurostat, the official inflation rate bureau.
Markets. Peso retreats after reaching its strongest level in 8 months. The exchange rate closed with losses, while investors assess the future performance of the global economy and the strength of the dollar. Local seats and bond rates continue to decline at the Bank of Mexico's auction. Mexican government bond rates remained low during the Bank of Mexico's most recent securities auction after the central bank signaled to the market that it plans to continue its downward cycle of the national reference rate. Deutsche Bank raises S&P 500 estimate to 6,550 points by the end of 2052. Analysts at the German bank Deutsche Bank raised their estimate for the level of the U.S. S&P 500 stock index for the end of this year from 6,150 to 6,550 points, the Reuters news agency reported. Wall Street rises on NVIDIA. U.S. equity indices advanced on Tuesday as NVIDIA, plus 2.8%, helped boost the technology sector, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average rising for the fourth consecutive session. Oil rises for a second day amid geopolitical tensions. Oil prices rose for a second day as investors weighed trade tensions on the other side of the world.
Thanks for listening. If you find useful this information, please hit the subscribe button to get the latest news. As well as share, comment, and like, so we can expand our community of subscribers. Sincerely, thank you. Have a good one.